Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Art Adventures. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a little sneak peek on kind of my method of coloring, say my actual commission pieces like I did here for the Doctor Strange. I always do like a little thumbnail. It doesn't matter how well this is drawn out. I did this in about 30 seconds and I did this in about 20 or 30 minutes, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a little update on how I do this. I go ahead and I find whichever color that I want to use next. I pretty much take all the grays out of my set of markers and I do a little swatch, and then I write down which one it is. And see, this one is a kind of a long one, so I'm going to put it up top, but CG 204. CG Roman numbers 204. And I close it, I put it to the side, and I keep going. I'm gonna go ahead and get these swatches made. Then I'm gonna compare the different colors because I have two different sets. GG3. I'll go ahead, choose whichever swatch I want to use for the Black Panther. And we'll go from there. All right, guys, so I have all of my swatches made. I have them all written down. So now I can go ahead and choose which ones I actually want to use for the thumbnail. And from the thumbnail, then I'll go ahead and do the actual drawing itself. The WGs and the CGs, basically what that means is warm gray. And then the CGs are cool gray. So you see warm gray has more of a brown tone to it or a tan tone to it. And then the CGs have more of a blue or purple tone to it, okay? This one here is the only one that's different, which is a GG, green gray. This has a green tone to it. So it's a little bit different from the blue and the tan where they have the warmer colors. So that's basically those swatches. So what I wanna do is I wanna compare to an actual picture of the Black Panther, and I have a Funko Pop Black Panther picture up on my computer screen, right? And some different illustrations that I've found on Pinterest. Typically I like to use Junior Pencil, which is where I got most of these characters. Junior Pencil, not this one, but the Loki, the Thor and the Doctor Strange, I think, are Junior Pencil. The other ones, I can't remember who it's from, but I found them on ArtStation. I'm gonna go ahead and get myself a good picture, and I'm looking at most of them, and most of them are using like warm grays. The thing is, I don't have a lot of warm grays, so I don't want to use the warm grays. I'm gonna use the cool grays, and I like this one for like a mid-tone or a lighter tone, darker tone. And then for kind of giving some shadow, I'll probably go with an even darker, which will probably be BG9, so blue gray. And then highlights, I'll go with the CG2, and then I could pretty much mark out all the rest. But I'll do that, figure out which swatch I want to use, and then I will go ahead and color them. All right, so now the next step, once we get our swatches chosen, now I'm gonna go ahead and get the lightest color, which is CG2, and I'm gonna go ahead and give pretty much the entire thing an undertone of this color. I like to do it because it kind of makes the colors blend a little bit better with these alcohol-based markers. If you're doing this with water-based markers, you have to wait for it to dry and everything so it doesn't make a hole in your paper, so on and so forth. So those teeth I'm going to actually do with a warm gray, because teeth are obviously more of a natural thing. Typically when we're doing colors, I learned this in college, which actually made everything seem so much easier to understand as far as the colors go. So man-made objects typically are on a cooler side of the color palette, and the non-man-made, like actual natural colors, typically are on the warmer side. So if I took two things like a flower, a red flower, typically would be on the warmer side. Now there is some exceptions. There are some different color hues that are on the cooler side. Say if you look at a fire hydrant, it's going to be more on the cool side. It's going to be more of a cool red. So that's that. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and do pretty much everything in this mid-tone, but we're going to leave space for highlight. Okay, and color in pretty much everything else except for those details in his helmet, or mask, I could say. It's not really a helmet. Again, except for where the highlights would be. All right, so basically what I'm doing is now I'm able to come in with some darker tones and kind of fill in spaces that I don't want to be as light. Black Panther is obviously a black color, black hue. He's going to be a lot darker than a regular mid-tone gray. And so with that being said, he's going to have a lot of areas that are going to be pretty dark. So I'm going in with a darker tone. Now, I will go even darker, but I don't want to overkill how much dark I'm covering over that light. I want that light to really pop through. And so I kind of got to be careful here with this. Again, this is why we're doing thumbnails and not just jumping straight into the actual artwork itself. And now I have an even darker hue, and I'm basically just going over areas that I think would be a little darker. These aren't the darkest spots, but the hue is darker in these areas. I do have a black that I'm going to go over, considering it is Black Panther, so he's got to have some really dark areas. But I also know that his whole outfit is not going to be black. And I'm not necessarily sure if I like this color, so what I would do is I'm going to close this one off, right? Kind of put this one to the side. I'm going to go back to the original dark gray that I used, the third color, and I'm going to go to the second half of him, and I'm going to use another layer of it, see if it can give it a darker tone. Sometimes they dry and it ends up being very similar, and it doesn't really darken it, it just kind of gives it same hue. And so I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can get this kind of colored like that and see how it comes out. See if it gets even darker. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kick out this BG9. I don't like the way that it looks, so now I'm gonna go ahead and X out of that, and that will prevent you from making any type of mistakes on your actual piece, not in your thumbnail. Your thumbnail's there for a reason. I don't want it to be messed up, but I also don't want it to affect the full picture. Now I can go ahead and give myself a little bit more grays on some of the items here. I know some of them are lighter than others, like the face would be lighter, but some of them will be a darker hue. Maybe I can do at least a little bit of a line. The ivory on the teeth, I'm doing a warm gray 01, and the black is really going to make this kind of pop a little bit. And I don't want to use an abundance of black. And maybe I don't want to use black at all, but we're figuring this out as we go, and that's why I use thumbnails. Oh, maybe I just do the absolute minimal to give it it's kind of like a thicker outline in a sense. So that's probably what I'm gonna do, because I really like what I did there on the shadows on the eyebrows and on the ears. But other than that, I think we're gonna leave it just mainly those, and use this for a very fine highlight. All right, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this actual Black Panther. So I'm gonna go ahead and transfer this onto the actual drawing itself and see how that turns out. So I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.